And many of those Sunnis, especially after something called de-Baathification, where we likened the party that Saddam had to a kind of Nazi-like party, and it may have been, but that's not why people were members of the Ba'athist Party. It went out of the military. That was the one thing the Sunnis and Shia agreed. This was an anti-Sunni measure, not some, Arab socialist party that we didn't like. So a number of these Sunnis went into what was called an insurgency at the time, and because it was joined by very rough and tough jihadists, a number of the sheikhs in Anbar, which is western Iraq, started pulling back from this insurgency. Why did they pull back? Partly because the Al-Qaeda in Iraq, as it was all called, AQI, was very, very brutal, and we're already seeing that today. But also, it was because we did something that has been done as long as the history of civilization. We gave money to people to stop shooting at us. So we had battalions. I talked to a battalion XO, in fact I saw him recently, and he told me that a battalion is 500, 600 people. And in the course of 3 months, he personally dispensed $50 million during this time to these sheikhs. And basically, it was to say, Sheikh, I have some money for you, but you need to stop shooting at our guys. If you want the money, no more shooting at our guys. And so a lot of sheikhs took that deal. And what happened after, this was a big part of the so-called surge. The surge had other aspects to it, where we brought in additional troops, we seized territory, we held it, we built on it, and we gave it back over to the Iraqis. That was another part of the surge. But I submit to you, a lot of the surge was handing out money to people and using as the army, as the manual says now, money can be a weapon of war. So now let's fast forward to ISIS. Part of what has gone on in ISIS is a lot of the people who were in this AQI moved over to Syria. Syria has never been completely run by the Alawites, the 15% tribe that Bashar al-Assad represents. They've always been just sort of Sunni-stan parts of Syria. So as the crisis in Syria grows, it metastasizes back into Iraq. So a lot of these people who were originally from Iraq, essentially driven out by sheikhs that were no longer doing business with them, and then they were back in Syria, and then finally back in Iraq. It is, of course, not just that we were paying money and essentially the Iraq government didn't follow up. That is part of the problem, because that would suggest that, gee, well, why don't we just get out some money and then it'll end up in the problem again. There was also, I think, a very definite problem of this Shia-led government under this guy Maliki, Nouri al-Maliki, that they did very little sort of Sunni outreach. Maliki is a lot of things, but he's not Nelson Mandela. And he certainly did not understand and feel the need for somehow reaching out to the Sunnis who had ruled the country as a minority. He didn't feel the need to say, look, we know it's tough for you, but let's work together. He did give a number of ministry positions to the Sunnis, but it was too little, too late. So it was a combination of things, and now we have a situation where ISIS is battle hardened from Syria, and we're finding that the Iraqi army is not so battle hardened, and even the Peshmerga, the Kurds, those people who were you saw a few minutes ago guarding me, they're not really up to the task of dealing with an army that has been very well funded while in Syria, very well funded by some other Arab states while in Syria. And so that army, I think, in my view, and now we're getting to what to do about it, I think they need to be defeated. And I think the president is correct not to put American troops on the ground, but rather to try to do this with airstrikes and try to build up the Iraqi army and the Kurdish Peshmerga as well. Now, a lot of people say, well, why didn't the president agree to keep some troops there, residual troops? Wouldn't that have scared away ISIS? Having 10,000 troops out in the desert somewhere who are not there to fight Iraq's battles for them, I don't think would have taken care of the ISIS problem. What it might have done is to suggest that America was still very interested in Iraq and still wanted to make sure that everybody got the message, don't mess with Iraq. So I think part of the problem was the president did not want to keep troops there. That's probably true. But I must tell you, neither did any Iraqi Arab I spoke to honestly want to keep foreign troops in Iraq. They would all say to the foreigner, oh, I want to do it, but it's the other guys here who don't want to do it. Nobody wanted to do it, and lo and behold, they'd say different things to different people. So it takes two to reach a deal, and in Iraqi terms, it takes a lot more than that. So I don't think, even if the president, our president, had pushed very hard for a residual force, I think he would have had a lot of troubles with the Iraqis. And one of the main reasons was the Iraqis would not grant to our troops what we require everywhere else we deploy troops, and that is immunity. We did not want our troops subjected to Iraqi criminal justice, for example. And so we demanded